Hello everyone. So in this video, we will solve this equation using the factoring method. So as you can see that this equation is a quadratic equation. So we'll solve this quadratic equation by factoring this equation. Now the first factoring method we can use for this equation is common factoring, because we can factor out -5 from these three terms. So we want to factor out a negative as well, because the first term in this equation is a negative term. So the x squared term. And these three numbers 25, 80 and 15 are all evenly divisible by 5. So our first step is to do common factoring. So we factor out -5. We write what's left of these terms after we factor out -5. We find those remaining terms by dividing each of these coefficients by -5. So we write -25x squared over -5. So we divide each term by -5 because we are factoring out -5 from this equation. So this is a very important step you have to understand and memorize. So now we can write, so -5 is outside the parentheses. So -25 divided by -5 is +5. So we get 5x squared. And then 80 divided by a -5 is -16. So we get -16x. And now 15 divided by a -5 is -3, but there is also a negative sign in front of this term, so it will become +3. So these are the steps you have to keep in mind to do common factoring from a quadratic equation like this one. Now we have to see if we can factor this expression in the parentheses. It's a complex trinomial because the coefficient of the x squared term is not 1, it is 5. So for complex trinomial, we can use the decomposition method. So in the decomposition method, we start with the sum and the product rule. So we have to find two numbers whose sum is -16. That's the coefficient of the x term. And whose product is 5 times 3, which is equal to 15. So this is a very important concept you need to understand and memorize. So the sum is the coefficient of the x term, and 5 and 3 are the coefficients of the x squared term and the number term in the trinomial. Now in order to find the two numbers that satisfy these conditions, we'll start with the product. So we have to find two numbers that multiply to 15. So the first pair of numbers that comes to my mind are 1 and 15. Now if we add 1 and 15, we get 16, not -16. So we should make both of these numbers negative. So this works because -1 plus -15 is equal to -16, and that's the sum that we are looking for. And if we do -1 times -15, then we get a product of +15. So that means the two numbers that we are looking for are -1 and -15. So now we can write our equation in factored form. So we already factored out a -5, so that stays as it is. And then we break down our middle term using the decomposition method. So we get 5x squared minus 1x minus 15x plus 3. So this is the expression we get after we break down the middle term using the decomposition method. So we use these two numbers that we found. Now we have to use the grouping method. So in grouping method, we pair up the first two terms and we pair up the last two terms. So we do common factoring from each pair. Now to make it easy, I'll use the brackets here. So from the first pair, we can factor out an x. And now in the parentheses, we are left with 5x minus 1. Because we took out 1x from both terms. And now in the second pair, the first term is negative, so we should factor out a negative term. And we know 15 and 3 are evenly divided by 3, so we can factor out a negative 3. We cannot factor out an x because there is no x with 3. So now we are left with 5x minus 1, because negative 15 divided by negative 3 is positive 5. And then positive 3 divided by negative 3 is negative 1. So this is our expression when we use grouping. And now we can complete our factoring. So both terms have 5x minus 1. So we factor that out, 5x minus 1. And then we write in the second parentheses the terms that's left over. So that's x minus 3 equals 0. So the x is from here and this negative 3 goes here. And this completes the factoring for this expression. Now we have to solve this equation. So we get two cases. Now negative 5 is just a number, so we ignore that. So we just focus on these two factors and write out our two cases. So the first case is 5x minus 1 is equal to 0. And the other case is x minus 3 equals 0. So now we have to isolate x in these two equations. So for the left one, so first we'll add 1 to both sides. So as a result, the ones on the left side cancel each other out. So we get 5x equals 0 plus 1, which is equal to 1. Now we can isolate x by dividing both sides by 5. So the 5's on the left side cancel each other out. So we get x equals 1 over 5. So this is the first solution of this equation. Now we can work on the second case. So for that we'll add 3 to both sides. So the 3's on the left side will cancel each other out. So we are able to isolate x on the left side of the equation. And now we can do 0 plus 3, which is equal to 3. So this should be the second solution of this equation. So this equation has two solutions. So I hope you'll find this video useful. Please share it, like it, and subscribe to Homework Help. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Bye.